please feel free to use it if you have questions. And also welcome to our new participants just joining in. As you see, you have successfully connected to our sessions. Um, to our session, we will start sharp at 11 o'clock, so be with us a couple of more minutes. Just for your information, we are live, so please be muted, and we encourage you to use your camera. This whole event will be live streamed and recorded um, and broadcasted via YouTube, and the last part will be broadcasted via Facebook discussions. Although we have a very tight schedule with a lot of interesting speakers, we try to be as engaging and participatory as possible. We have designated Q&A sessions planned, and you can also get ready with your questions in the chat. It is open for everyone, and we will feed it into the discussions. And again, a warm welcome to our new participants just joining in. Welcome. As you see, you have successfully connected to our session from local to European to hear about our success stories and main findings from the local cross-border and transnational citizens dialogues carried out and supported by the Committee of the Regions and the Bertelsmann Stiftung. Be with us. This session will start soon, sharp at 11 o'clock. As you all know, we are live, so please be muted, and we encourage you to use your camera to switch it on. The whole event will be live streamed and recorded via YouTube, and the link you find here or on the event page. Also, the last panel will be broadcasted live to a Facebook discussion page. Although we have a very tight schedule with a lot of interesting speakers and information, we try to be as engaging and participatory as possible. So we have designated Q&A sessions planned, and the chat is always open for your questions for everyone to see. And again, a warm welcome to our new participants just connecting successfully to this session. We're looking forward to have nice discussions with you, interesting discussions with you about our project from local to European and about the success stories and main findings from the local cross-border and transnational citizens dialogues supported by the Committee of the Regions and the Bertelsmann Stiftung. We will start at sharp 11 o'clock in 3.5 minutes. Meanwhile, let me remind you that this session is live, so please be muted and turn your camera on. It will be streamed, broadcasted live to YouTube via this link you find here and on the event page. And also the last part, the last panel, will be broadcasted live to a Facebook discussion page. And as I said earlier, we try to be as engaging and participatory as possible. There are designated question and answer sessions planned, and the chat is open for everyone to see. So get ready with your questions in the chat. So one last time for new participants before we really start and I unshare my screen. A very warm welcome to all of you. You have successfully connected to our session from local to European to hear about our success stories and main findings from the local cross-border and transnational citizens dialogues, the COR and the Bertelsmann Stiftung supported. We will start very soon. Quick reminder, this session is live, so please be muted and it would be great if you use your camera. The whole event will be streamed and recorded for YouTube, and the last session will be broadcasted live for Facebook discussion. Although we have a very tight schedule, we try to be as engaging and participatory as possible. So we have designated question and answer sessions planned, and you can always get ready with your questions in the chat. It's open for everyone to see, and it's starting right now. So good to see all of your pictures. We are nearly here, nearly 11 o'clock. Quick reminder, as I said before, for everyone just connecting to our session. We would like to ask you to turn your camera on and stay muted unless we address you to ask a question. If you have any questions or suggestions for us, feel free to use the chat. It's open for everyone to see, and we will feed your questions and recommendations into the ongoing discussions. In addition, just for your information, the whole event will be broadcasted live and we will record it, and the recording will be available afterwards on YouTube. The second part, the second panel with the politicians, will be live on Facebook for Facebook discussions. And now it's time. Welcome to the event, 11 o'clock. We are very pleased to welcome all of you here. My name is Christian Husmann. I'm a project manager for the Bertelsmann Stiftung, responsible for the project from local to European. I'm very delighted to be one of your hosts today.
Good morning to you all as well. Nice to see so many familiar faces today. My name is Adrian Nagy, and warm welcome also from my side on behalf of the Committee of the Regions. I'm going to act as your second moderator today, along with Christian. So Christian, let's see, what do you have for us today?
What I have for you today, thanks Adrian for a start, from local to European. That was the name of the project of the Bertelsmann Stiftung and the European Committee of the Region. For about a year, both organizations have been working together with 23 cooperation projects from 67 European cities and regions to give European citizens a voice in the context on the future of Europe. Today, we would like to share with you the results of this project. First, 3 project partners from European regions will share their experiences and insights from their very concrete dialogues. For this, we warmly welcome Julien Perrin from France. Yeah, just technical disturbance. Today, we would like to share the results with you. For this, we will warmly welcome Julien from France, Konstantinos Philippidis from Greece, and Daniela Lörch from Germany. The 3 of them represent 23 projects from all over Europe. Some of the organizers of the other projects are also here with us as participants. A special welcome to all of you. And after this insight, we zoom into a bird's eye view. Anna Ringkamp, Senior Project Manager from the Bertelsmann Stiftung, and Wolfgang Petzold from the European Committee of the Regions will present the findings of the evaluation report, as well as discuss conclusions and possible next steps. And then we will deepen this discussion on next steps on the future of citizens' participation at EU level. For this purpose, we have 2 politicians here from the COR as excellent panelists. One of them is Marc Speich from North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany, and the other one is Daniela Finkelstein from Romania. So now you know who we are, but actually we are also very keen to learn who is with us today, who you are, and what your connection to the conference on the future of Europe is. And for this, we have brought along a very short, very quick survey for you to answer. And namely, I'm just starting it right now, we want to know from you what's your connection to the conference on the future of Europe is, how and whether you have been active in this framework on the conference on the future of Europe. You can see the survey here and can click as many answers as you like. The question is, I contributed to the conference on the future of Europe by, and now you can, if you want, click as many possible answers as you like, from organizing a citizens dialogue yourself, participating in one, reporting about it, visiting the webpage, submitting or endorsing an idea on the platform, or even just following the conference on the future in the media by a web stream of the events. The answers are coming in very quickly. That's reassuring for us. So you all know how Zoom works. It's very good. I give you just a couple of seconds longer to answer all of these. But nonetheless, I will now close the survey and show it to you so that you know who is with us today as well. And actually, it's very interesting. Many of you have been very active in this. A lot of you have organized the citizens dialogue, following the conference in the media, or visited the webpage, or even endorsed, submitted an idea. This promises really interesting discussions. So, and now, before we start in these discussions, I would like to welcome President Lamberts for some welcoming words. President Lamberts is the president of the German-speaking community in Belgium, and we are very glad to have him here because, as you know, the German community in Belgium is one of the forerunner regions concerning citizens' participation. And with no longer ado, President Lamberts, we are glad to hear your welcoming words.
Dear members of the European Committee of the Regions, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you to this closing event of a project which we have successfully carried out over the past 12 months. I have to apologize our president, Apostolos Tzitzikostas, who had an unpredictable unavailability, and so you must be satisfied with me. Together with you, politicians and officials from 58 cities and regions, and of course our colleagues of the Bertelsmann Stiftung, we made it happen. Today, we can look back on the results of 38 local and cross-border debates, which have attracted almost 2,000 citizens, 200 local politicians, and more than 100 officials, all with a focus on reflecting on the future of Europe. Citizens have discussed and adopted some 400 recommendations, all of which were uploaded to the digital platform of the conference. The circumstances of the pandemic made it challenging. Politics is a concrete and a contact sport. It works best when we are together in person. So it is even more remarkable that we managed to succeed in this truly unique, unprecedented adventure. Today is a moment to be proud of what we had achieved, to harvest the lessons learned, and to reflect on next steps. As regards the Conference of the Future of Europe, the ball is now in the field of the 3 EU institutions. It will be up to them to process approximately 30,000 ideas and citizens' recommendations, including yours from COR, local dialogues, and other events. For the European Committee of the Regions, this process has been a real awakening. For nearly 30 years, we have been a consultative body of the EU legislation. We now have the possibility to take this to the next level and become part of the future of European democracy. There are more than 1 million politicians in the EU elected at the local and regional level. We are elected close to the people, the gift of proximity, and local and regional authorities are the level which people trust most, a level of trust which grew further in the pandemic. And while we call for a better inclusion of local and regional leaders in the EU policymaking, citizens' participation is an equally important way to enhance the functioning of our union. For taking forward this project, I would like to outline 3 ways. First, cities and regions matter for the EU and vice versa. However, it cannot be taken for granted that this fact is known and respected by everyone in all places and all occasions. EU regions and cities matter because they are unique, diverse, innovative, and the places people identify with. Moreover, they are laboratories of democratic innovation and citizens' participation since many decades. Cities such as Barcelona and Paris, and regions such as my own region, Ostbelgien or Baden-Württemberg in Germany, were the first to experiment with participatory democracy in town halls and regional parliaments. And the basic feature of the digital platform of the Conference of the Future of Europe were developed and tested in Barcelona a couple of years ago. Second, the follow-up of the conference will be the litmus test for this experiment. While we meet, it is still rather unclear how far-reaching and inspirational the conclusions will be. My personal take on citizens' participation is that the genie is out of the bottle. We have to continue on this path and work on a better linking representative and participatory democracy while respecting the different national, regional, and local circumstances, and hence the principle of subsidiarity. Which brings me to my third and final point, which is in fact an open question for me. How can we imagine the future of citizens' involvement across the different levels of democracy and government in the EU? I think that our joint project presents evidence that this is possible. People feel local, national, and European at the same time. They have high expectations and clear ideas about issues they expect the European Union to tackle. I imagine that one result of the conference to ensure citizens' involvement will be the establishment of a permanent mechanism, an assembly perhaps, at EU level to advise the institutions. This is something which our committee suggested already in 2018. Our plea today is that such an European Citizen Assembly should be underpinned by regional and local assemblies. It would be a great added value if people who experience common challenges at regional and local level could bring their views and ideas to the European table. This applies in particular to border regions or places in industrial transitions or demographic decline. Like this, we would ensure the building of a true European house of democracy, the regional and local level being the solid foundations, the member states as strong walls, and the European institutions as protective roof. Let me thank all of you again for your creative and entrepreneurial spirit and hard work in this project. We look forward to the conclusions of your event and will make sure that the voice of EU citizen regions is heard. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very productive day.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your speech, as well as your availability last minute. And as we know, you're a long-term supporter for citizens' engagement. Now, going forward in the program, I'm happy to say that in the framework of the Conference on the Future of Europe, there were over 5,000 events realized and approximately 14,000 citizens' ideas and recommendations, including many of our project partners submitted to the multilingual digital platform. As our president just said, today is the moment to be proud of what we have achieved and to harvest the lessons learned. I wonder how else this could be better done than via the interpretation of our project partners. So I have the utmost pleasure to call on stage from the 23 partnerships established within the COR Bertelsmann Stiftung joint project, 3 partners to talk about their experiences as the next part of our program today. Please welcome Mr. Julien Péat, the director of Maison de l'Europe on Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, to talk about his experience on the Citizens Dialogue that took place in Dijon on the 15th of October last year. The event was a transnational citizens dialogue with 40 citizens participating from the 2 regions, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté in France and Rhineland-Pfalz of Germany, 2 regions whose cooperation looks back over 60 years. During the event, citizens discussed on the future of Europe, multiple topics such as climate change, values and rights, education and youth. Julien's first challenge was already mounting when there were certain restrictions due to COVID. Therefore, the whole project could be only partially implemented. So the next step of their event is still to become this year in May in Mainz 2022. So Julien, thanks very much for accepting our invitation. We would keen to learn now your insights of the project, and besides the challenges what I already mentioned due to COVID, what were the other difficulties that you had to face during the preparation and implementation of your event, and what helped you to overcome those? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you very much to the organizers for the invitation. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to report on our initiative. Well, you're asking about the challenges that we faced, and I want to say that there weren't so many because we already organized a citizen dialogue, but in our region, not on a transnational perspective. In 2018, on the occasion of the consultation initiated by President Macron in France. So we already had the methodology and the experience of such an initiative. But as you already mentioned, our two regions have been partners since 1962. Therefore, we're very used to cooperating and building projects together. So it was easy to work with our colleagues in Germany, the Europe Direct Center in Kaiserslautern, the Partnerschaftsverband in Mainz, and the Haus Rheinland-Pfalz in Dijon here. And of course, our regional institutions, the Regional Council in Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, the Landtag, and the Stadtkanzlei in Rheinland-Pfalz. Now, to go into further details, I guess our first preoccupation was to build up a group of around 40 citizens from our two regions that was gender balanced, of all ages and socioeconomic background, coming from all inland territories, both urban and rural. And that was very important for us because let me say that our region is as big as Estonia and has the same population as Slovenia. So this was very challenging to have people from all the different, what we call départements, so inland territories. So this was challenging, but we managed to build up a group of both people who had not necessarily expressed interest in the first place, nor any idea of what the European Union was doing, while some others had interesting experience in French-German cooperation or a broader idea of how the European Union works, what it does not, how it helps citizens and territories. So in the end, it was interesting. We didn't have many problems of communication between the participants because we had set up a live interpretation system. But as you said, probably the second challenge, not surprising, is the COVID situation, as we had to postpone the second phase of the debate. Instead of meeting in November, so a month after the first phase in France, we will deliver the second phase in Mainz in May. But to be honest, I guess this is actually a good chance for us because this is the 60th anniversary this year of our cooperation. So this clearly is a flagship project, but it's also a good opportunity because I guess a lot has happened in the meantime in the European Union, and most probably our citizen opinion will be more accurate about the situation, what is happening in Ukraine, what is happening with climate change, and so on. And most probably after the French presidential election. So this is probably a chance. So we'll make it better, I guess.
Thanks, Julian. May I just kindly inquire, as a startup of planning your project, you were really sticking to physical events. What was the reason why you were not really easily swifted through the waves of the online communication?
Well, it's most probably because of that 2018 experience that we had. We built up a citizen dialogue at the time in different phases. The first phase was online, but we realized that the space, the exchange, the experience is never as good as it is when it's physical, basically. So yeah, we couldn't imagine building up the project on only online basis. So we were lucky we could organize the first phase, but I guess it's never the same with people splitting into subgroups and all the social part, of course, of the program. You know, when you have dinner, when you have lunch, or when you have a break, people will keep on talking and learning from each other upon that occasions. So so it's more the human experience that enriches the citizen dialogue, I guess.
Yeah, I very well hear your words on social interactions, and I think we all miss that. Thanks very much for your summary. Christian, I will pass it on to you now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adrian, and thank you very much, Julian, for your insights. Very interesting. And now I'm really pleased to introduce to you Konstantinos Philippides. Konstantinos for our second speaker about the projects is the president of the Association of Active Youth in Florina and member of the Europe Direct Network in Western Macedonia in Greece. The Citizens Dialogue, in which he was instrumental in organizing, was transnational and took place in two regions in Greece, the region of Western Macedonia and the region of Central Macedonia, and as well in the Republic of Northern Macedonia, and here in Valandovo and Skopje. The topic of his Citizens Dialogue was European Neighbors Talk on Environment, Climate and Regional Development. The event took place on the 27th of September, and it was actually a hybrid event, digital and in person. It gathered more than 100 participants with physical presence at 6 hotspots in the regions in total, and these 6 hotspots were brought together digitally. Konstantinos, or as you told me to call you, Kostas, this really sounds very impressive, especially taking into account that you had very little experiences beforehand in organizing a citizens dialogue. And my first question to you would really be, what triggered your interest to arrange such a citizens dialogue?
Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much for your invitation, and congratulations for the organization of this event and the dialogue events. No, there are many things that triggered us to support this kind of events, this kind of dialogue. First of all, region of Western Macedonia and probably the neighboring country of North Macedonia face huge numbers of youth unemployment and unemployment. Also, region of Western Macedonia right now is in the first place of the Green Deal regarding the change the lignite mining and coal mining production that will stop in the next 2 years. And also that we are in this scheme of transition. We are one of the first regions in Europe that this Green Deal is implementing in our region. Also, there is a need for collaboration between both countries and both neighbors, because citizens do not anything to change, do anything to share with them except the common ideas and the common procedures to have a stable, sustainable development and a common future within the European Union. Because also it's eager, we're eager to help our neighbors to get in the huge family of the European Union, to have stability, to have prosperity. And that was the first, the one of the most important issues that we tried to gather in this event. Also, to be honest, I was really glad that also the Europe Direct of Central Macedonia came closely with this event and supported also this event. And of course, it was the immediate reaction from our neighbors in the municipality of Valandovo and the Youth Alliance Krusevo in Skopje. So to be honest, there was, as you said, there was a really limited experience in citizens dialogue, but for the first time in this very difficult environment that we had past years because of the conflict, of the political conflict for the name issue with Greece and North Macedonia. Right now, I think that we have open door for further the cooperation.
Kostas, this sounds very interesting and very impressive. And one question I still have to you. You just mentioned this complicated situation between Greece and the Republic of Northern Macedonia. What was your experience? What is your experience actually to raise the interest of politicians to take part in your citizens dialogue? Because as we all know, the attendance of politicians as the decision makers is crucial to these kinds of dialogues.
Yes, to be honest, it was easier for us to find local politicians, like the politicians, the mayor of the municipality of Amindo, the president of the municipality council, the vice governor of the region of Western Macedonia, and also the managing authority of Western Macedonia. but it was limited the submission, the admission from politicians in a national level, except of course of the Kostas Arvanidis, the member of the European Parliament who supported from the beginning this, and of course Mr. Yannis, Nikos Yannis, who is also candidate, who was candidate with the New Democracy, the leading party in Greece. Except them, there wasn't any, to be honest, any kind of support from the national politician, and especially from politicians from the governing party in Greece. It wasn't. It was something that kindly, let's say, do not accept. But anyway, I think that we gave this message that there is a huge potential and there is a need to support all these activities because there is potential between citizens, the potential in cooperation between both countries. So also, except the limited experience that we had in citizen dialogue, we had also this problem with persuading the politicians to participate in this event. So, but the outcomes was really good, and I think that it took the interest of local, regional mass media, because we have as moderators very good journalists, and also in Thessaloniki with the Europe Direct of Central Macedonia, but also in Skopje and in Valandovo. So also one last problem that was the elections that were coming closely in North Macedonia, the local elections. So it was also a problem for them, for the local politicians to participate. But from them, we had more warm welcome from the Party of Liberal Democrats and the Social Democratic Party. So we have also representatives from the Republic of North Macedonia, representatives from politicians. So we're really happy for what we had for the first time in this region. And of course, we would like to have more support in these activities, and we're glad that we have your support.
Nikos, thank you very much for this and actually your praise. Yeah, thank you very much. That's all I have to say. And actually, my main takeaway from you is that sometimes it's easier for the local politicians and even the European politicians to support citizens' participation in difficult surroundings, and that this connection is really a good one, and that we should have a look on this in the further course of citizens' participation on the European level. Yeah, thank you very much, Kostas, for your insights. And speaking of main insights and main findings, we now come to our third project, and I'm really delighted that Daniela Lörch has agreed to share some of her insights with us. Daniela is a civil servant in the State Ministry of Baden-Württemberg, and here in the Department for European Policy. Daniela was significantly involved in the 6 regions dialogue on cross-border cooperation. The regions involved were the region Grand Est from France, the regions Baden-Württemberg and Saxony from Germany, Lower Silesia from Poland, and Ustia and Karlovy from the Czech Republic. The Citizens Dialogue took place totally online on 2 different days, December the 10th and 11th in 2021, with 65 citizens from the 6 regions. One specialty of this dialogue was that 2 dialogues in the respective border regions were held beforehand. Here, the topics discussed at the 6 regions dialogues have emerged, and these topics were democracy and European values, climate and environmental protection, and strengthening the cross-border cooperation. And Daniela, recapping all of your project, one really has to come to the conclusion it's a very ambitious project. And speaking of this, what is your main takeaway from your 6 regions cross-border dialogue?
Thank you, Christian. Good morning to everybody also from my side. And thank you for the opportunity to give you some information about our 6 regions dialogue, which took place in December last year. I will talk about the challenges in this event and also about our main takeaway. So, but just first, let's give me some general information on this event. So the goal was to bring people together from 2 cross-border dialogues together in one big transnational dialogue. And we had 2 key questions in this event. The first was, do people from different cross-border regions deal with the same issues? And the second question, what could these 2 groups learn from each other? And therefore, we get in contact with our colleagues from Saxony and the region Grand Est. And so we developed the idea of this 6 regions dialogue. The preparation starts already in May last year, and we organized monthly meetings with all the project partners. And after summer break, we started with a weekly basis meeting. And in these meetings, we have to coordinate all the administrative things like the invitation, the target group for the dialogue, but also the concept and process of the event. So we identified, as Christian already mentioned, the common topics of our bilateral cross-border dialogues and defined the 3 of the common topics for the 6 regions dialogue. And in this weekly meetings, we also spoke about the participation of our political representatives of the regions and also about the participation of the experts on 3 topics of the event. So it was very helpful that the COR and Bertelsmann Stiftung organized the technical platform, the translation of the event, and also supported us in the development of the concept of the event. So thank you very much for your support. Let's have a look at the challenges in this event, and there were some of it. So we had challenges in the organization and implementation of the 6 regions dialogue. The first was whether different groups of the participants of the bilateral cross-border dialogues. So we had randomly selected people from Baden-Württemberg and Grand Est. And we had a lot of representatives of interesting groups and NGOs from Saxony and the regions in Poland and Czech Republic. So how could we handle it? That was one of the key questions. Another question and challenge was setting up mixed group of the bilateral cross-border dialogues. So we wanted that participants could talk to each other who did not meet in the bilateral cross-border dialogues. So for example, bringing people from Baden-Württemberg together with people from Poland or the Czech Republic, or people from Saxony with people from France. So that was really one of the challenges. And the other one was that participants could discuss on that topic they already discussed in the bilateral cross-border dialogues. So bringing these 2 topics together. And the third was also to pay attention to the possible language combination, which is really a big challenge for 6 regions with 4 languages. And also the 3 challenges I already talked about. So there are like a little playing Tetris, bringing all together. And yeah, that was really challenging. Another point was the coordinating the processes and decisions on the event between 6 European regions with different administrative backgrounds. So that took a lot of time, more time probably than we expected. That was quite challenging. And also development the agenda of the event. So at the one hand, we want to have enough time for a short review on our bilateral cross-border events in advance. We want to have enough time for the statements of the political representatives, for the input of the experts we invited on our 3 topics, and also on the other hand, having enough time for the discussion of all the participants in working groups. But finally, let's have a look at the main takeaway from the 6 regions dialogue. Yes, it's possible to organize a transnational dialogue with different European regions. And yes, participants work well together, and they were very thankful for the opportunity meeting people from different European regions they would never have met in their daily lives. And yes, online events are just as effective as events in presence. It was in fact the only way to bring people from across our regions together. And so I'm convinced that would have not have happened in an on-stage event. And the last main takeaway will be, if you have the opportunity, invite randomly selected people for a citizens dialogue, because random selection brings people with different backgrounds and different point of views together. That brings diverse discussions and new ideas for the results. randomly selected people worked open-minded in the citizens' dialogues. And our experience was that representatives of interesting groups or NGOs just participate to bring in their own positions. So think about it, think about random selection. So to keep it short at the end, it was a great project and a great experience. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Daniela, for all this information and the main insights. Actually, you already answered my second question to you. I had in the backhand about random selection, but just let me point out that your impression is that random selection really helps bringing together a diverse group, and if you really aim for a diverse group, random selection is the go-to tool to do this. But thank you very much for your insights. Thank you very much for your learnings. And with that, Adrienne.
Yes, just echoing the words of Daniela, seeing the success of such a large scope event, one can only wish that this is replicated all over Europe in the future. Also on your warm words, Daniela, and the support of the COR and Bertelsmann Stiftung, I have to say that on behalf of the events team, we were also very glad that we could support you and we could help the realization of your projects and all the projects that took part in this collaboration. As a closing part of the presentations for today, I invite you to watch a short film featuring citizens of the Inter-Regional Citizens Consultations of Calabria and Asturias, an event that was organized on the 24th of November on the challenges of rural areas. Nico, could you please start the video?
Aprovechar al máximo los recursos del territorio, que son muchos.
Niños con los que nosotros empezamos a trabajar al principio ahora ya son adultos, y son adultos que lideran ellos programas, iniciativas, experiencias de emprendimiento.
Si ellos quieren quedar allí y tienen recursos, es que hay que buscar la forma de que se queden en su entorno.
Los servicios los tiene que haber igualmente, ¿no? Seamos pocos o muchos.
La formación era fundamental para estar en el campo mejor y también para poder elegir estar o no en el campo.
Las TICs, digamos que son el futuro, y el teletrabajo es una oportunidad enorme en las zonas rurales. No solo la conectividad como conocemos de banda ancha o fibra óptica, sino en zonas de alta montaña de mi valle todavía existe dificultad en cuanto a la electricidad o a la cobertura de teléfono.
Pienso que debería de existir una ventanilla única que gestionase pues, todos los papeleos que conlleva el emprender en el medio rural. Pues estuvimos prácticamente 3 años desarrollando la idea por trámites burocráticos.
Se debe de fomentar de alguna manera el que los profesionales no solamente trabajen en los grandes hospitales.
Me gustaría enfatizar en que la gente de las zonas rurales que queremos vivir en nuestras zonas se nos dé las oportunidades.
Yeah, so thank you very much from my side as well for this interesting input and insight into the 3 projects from the 23 projects carried out in course of this From Local to European project. We will have the opportunity to answer your questions later in the main room. We will switch to this in a couple of minutes. Feel free to use the chat in the meantime. We will gather all your questions and recommendations and then come back to it later in the main room. But now, as promised, we will take the bird's eye view, and for this we now welcome Anna Rehnkamp, Senior Project Manager at the Bertelsmann Stiftung, and Wolfgang Petzold, Deputy Director for Communications at the European Committee of the Regions. Both of them were leading the project for their respective organizations. Anna will share the main learnings and information about the whole project with us, and Wolfgang will share his views on the future of participation in the EU. Anna and Wolfgang, we are looking very much forward to hear what you have to share with us today.
Okay, I can start.
Yes, feel free.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. I'm very pleased to present the results of our project. Great results that, above of all, our partners on the ground, the 23 projects have achieved. When we met our colleagues from the European Committee of the Regions in spring 2021, it was clear to us that the conference on the future of Europe is a fantastic opportunity for the development towards a more participatory European democracy. We wanted to bring together the expertise of two organizations, and we wanted to make a substantial contribution. We didn't expect to get that much support from so many cities and regions from all over Europe. So we are really pleased to see the results today. What exactly did we want to achieve? We wanted genuine citizens' participation. We wanted to achieve impact, real contributions of citizens in shaping the future of Europe. Not only the pro-European usual suspects should participate, but citizens from all walks of life. Our aim was also to build up expertise for genuine citizens' participation in the cities and regions, strengthen participatory democracy, and linking it well to representative democracy at the local, regional, and European level. That was and is important. What did we do in the project? Real citizens' participation that leads to good results has to be learned. So therefore, our first focus was on capacity building. We trained all initiators, organizers, and facilitators of the 23 projects in the application of innovative methods. We discussed quality principles of inclusive, deliberative, and effective citizens' participation. Nico, could we have the presentation now? And could you go to slide 2? Okay. So, no, the other one, Nico, could you back? Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. So these core elements of good citizens' participation were central for the trainings. Inclusiveness means the participation of citizens from all walks of life. This can best be ensured by the method of random selection. Daniela told us about it. Deliberation means that all citizens have a chance to speak. Participatory methods and structured discussions in small groups lead to common citizens' proposals. Effectiveness means that administrators and politicians are involved and that there is a follow-up process for the implementation of the citizens' proposals. Now we can have the next slide. Okay. So we held a total of 15 events and training sessions, including 6 planning workshops and 6 training sessions for organizers and facilitators of the citizens' dialogues. Representatives from all projects participated in the trainings. To support the implementation, we developed 40 practical guides. During the training sessions, And afterwards, we interviewed the participants. For the vast majority, these participatory methods were new. Knowledge about digital participation was scarce. The biggest challenge was the concrete design of the citizens' dialogues. And a big hurdle was the method of random selection to recruit diverse groups of citizens. Equipped with the participatory skills, the actors from politics and administration in the 23 projects then planned their own citizens' dialogues and implemented them from September 2021. Here you can see the geographical distribution of the 23 projects, partner organizations from 67 European regions and cities, and 20 European countries participated. In total, around 2,000 citizens participated in the citizens' dialogues. Now let's have a closer look at the citizens' dialogues. This is interesting. Of the 38 citizens' dialogues on the future of Europe, 57% had a transnational character, either with citizens from twin towns, with citizens from border regions, or with citizens from several partner regions. And this will surprise you less, I guess, against the background of the COVID pandemic. 75% of the citizens' dialogues were conducted digitally or hybrid, only 25% in person. And these are the topics that were discussed in the citizens' dialogues. Most frequently, citizens discussed the economy, closely followed by the topics of climate change, education, and democracy. We also looked at the results of the discussions, the citizens' proposals. The citizens developed a total of 400 proposals. Many of them have already been uploaded to the conference platform. It is striking that the proposals are characterized by common European solutions. For example, citizens want the establishment of a uniform European recycling system and uniform rules for teleworking and home office. When asked which of the three core elements of the participatory methods have been implemented, the all organizers answer the participation of politicians. We counted how many politicians are involved in the project and came up with 200 politicians. That's a remarkable high number. And this is a great result because the participation of politicians is the key to the effectiveness and impact of the citizens' dialogues. Okay, what did we achieve together with the 23 projects? First, the project led to successful and good quality citizens' dialogues. Over 90% of the citizens and over 90% of the organizers rated the dialogues as very good and good. The methods and quality principles of inclusive, deliberative, and effective citizens' participation were mostly applied in the 38 citizens' dialogues. Only the random selection encountered implementation difficulties. A hurdle is still very often missing personal data registers or data protection regulations. Secondly, the citizens' dialogues produced many good citizens' proposals that have a good chance of being implemented. Many politicians, especially at the local and regional level, want to commit themselves to implementation, and some are already planning concrete measures. Thirdly, participatory democracy in the cities and regions was sustainably strengthened. Actors from administration and politics build up competences. To our question, do you want to use the participatory methods in the future as well? 100% of the organizers said, yes, we want. Great. What did we learn? Local, regional, and transnational citizens' dialogues make a valuable contribution to the future of the EU, as long as the quality of the citizens' dialogues is right. Europe's citizens think locally and European. They enjoy exchanging ideas about Europe with their European neighbors. Language barriers can be overcome. The results are better when citizens from different backgrounds participate. And the instrument of random selection can help to activate groups of people who are difficult to reach and normally would not take part in such kind of citizens' dialogues. We have learned that genuine citizens' participation does not come for free. We need the participatory tools, the competences in the administration and politics. We need time for planning and financial resources for implementation. But it is worth it. Political will is key to achieving impact and a participatory footprint. Citizens have only an advisory role. Now it is up to the politicians. Only if politicians are committed to citizens' proposals is there a chance that proposals will be implemented. In our project, we have seen that, and we have seen that political representatives from cities and regions are open to modern citizens' participation. Their strong commitment across all 23 projects and 20 countries shows that representative and participatory democracy can complement each other well, especially when it comes to European issues and the future of Europe. So much for now. More information about the project results, you can find this information in the report. Thank you very much to the representatives of the projects. Thank you very much for your encouragement to try out new methods and for your great commitment to implement those dialogues with success. Thanks to the colleagues from the Committee of the Regions for the wonderful cooperation. And for the future, I wish for more of these great projects of genuine citizens' participation at all levels, and a sustainable institutional embedding of citizens' participation in the democratic system of the EU. And I'm happy to hand over to Wolfgang.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for this comprehensive summary of the report, which I believe is going to be out soon in German, English, and French. You will learn more about this through the usual means. I have not to add much, but let me maybe focus on 3 points I would like to make. First, where does the overall context of the conference of the Europe on the future of Europe stand right now? What is the COR thinking? As far as I can say this, we will hear more about this in a minute in the politicians panel, and maybe some personal remarks on how to do it, how to continue, which is again something personal I'd like to add, because these are decisions that I am not taking, but which the House, the Committee of the Regions will be taking. So first point, where does the conference on the future of Europe stand, maybe in particular with regards to the future of citizens' participation that Anna has just mentioned. I think we have good news in so far as the citizens at European level, in the so-called European Citizens Panel, they have indeed endorsed the need for a permanent European citizens, the wording goes like between agora, panel, or assembly. And I'm pretty sure, listening not only to the citizens in the European Citizens Panel, but also to some debates among national members of parliament and among the members of the European Parliament, that indeed we will see something happening in the aftermath of the conference. How it will be organized, whether it will end in a very concrete or more vague way in the conference report, that is to be seen. You may know that this report is going to be drafted now in March and April, with the most likely appearance of something like conclusions or already the final report on the 9th of May, so exactly a year after the whole process was started. Just as a reminder, the process initially was meant to last 2 years, and I'm pretty sure that the 9th of May we will see this final report, which does not mean that this is the end of the process. On the contrary, I do believe not only the Citizens' Assembly, but a whole range of political projects will be launched, to be seen in how far the three institutions leading this process, the European Parliament, the Council of the EU, and the European Commission, will be able to agree upon very concrete steps. But I'm sure that we will see a lot of it, and among them, again, there will be European Citizens' Assembly. So in parallel, the COR has not, as you may know, not only organized the events we were just talking about. We have had political debates in our plenary sessions. And the final point of, if you want, our campaign on more influence of regions and cities in EU policy making is indeed a summit we will hold in Marseille on the 3rd and 4th of March. The summit will be crowned, if I may say so, by a manifesto or a final resolution. And also in this resolution, I can't predict things here because this is subject to political debate, but I'm pretty sure that we will also see a reference to a permanent mechanism on citizens' deliberation and participation across the levels of government. Now, my last point, what is it that one can learn maybe for the future of organizing this in a more structured way? So let's just imagine that we have indeed a European Citizens' Assembly at a permanent, on a permanent level. Will there be national citizens' assemblies feeding into this, as has been the plan for the Conference on the Future of Europe? Brackets open, it didn't quite work well. There were only a few countries like France, Belgium, Germany to some extent, Spain, who finally also had national citizens' assemblies. Most of the countries didn't really take that so seriously. And of course, the question is, how can we imagine then, if we want to continue, you, the partners, but also the Committee of the Regions and maybe other local stakeholders, how can we continue with such a process to be fed by locals? I do think some of the principles have been firmly established now. Anna has already spoken about them, so no need for me to repeat that. What I would think, and that's again a personal view, that for a Committee of the Regions and people who maybe have the same challenges in different regions of the EU, what could be interesting is indeed to look into citizens from regions with territorial, geographical challenges that are the same. As Mr. Lambert has mentioned, maybe people from border regions, maybe people from mountain regions, maybe people from regions who have difficulties in adapting to the climate change, and so on and so on. One could think about that. What I think is definitely necessary for the continuation of citizens' dialogues across levels of government in the EU is a clearer thematic focus. I think the 9 topics were very broad. Many people have said that, and I think for the future, one would have to have a more focused thematic approach to things. And the last thing maybe here, how to organize it. Some members of the parliament voiced the idea that the committee has already kind of voiced in 2018 to embed such citizens' participation into annual dialogues, which would start from local and go maybe to national and then end up at European level. I can't, of course, commit the Committee of the Regions now to be an active part in this, but I do think that the committee would be well advised in having an eye on this and also being an active partner together with the colleagues from civil society like Bertelsmann, but also with you colleagues in regions and cities. And let me also use the opportunity to thank Anna, Christian, Anna, Rachel, and Dominic, and other colleagues in the Bertelsmann Foundation. It has really been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure also to work with the colleagues from regions and cities and many others around. I would agree with Anna and say that we have shown that such an involvement of citizens from the local level to the European level is possible. And I'm really grateful for having had this experience. And I do think that we will make some waves, not only with the citizens' conclusions and recommendations to the conference, but also with this experience. And we will make sure that the voice of regions and cities can also be heard in future processes in this way. Thank you very much. That was all I wanted to say. And I think it's over to Christian and Adrienne now. Thank you.
Christian, you're muted.
The typical mistake from moderator. What I wanted to say was, dear Anna and Wolfgang, thank you very much for sharing your insights and sharing your views and the main findings of the common evaluation report of this project. My colleague already shared the link to the report in the chat. You can download it there for free. And now we have time to look in the chat and to answer your questions. We will do this in the main room. So I will switch shortly to the main room so that we can look each other in the eye and have room for your questions. Due to the time, we have to hurry up a little bit, but nonetheless, we want to have this opportunity. Nico. And as I said before, now we are all here, me, myself as well, in the main room for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, let us know in the chat or just raise your hand digitally. Then I can give you the word. In the meantime, there was a specific question in the chat beforehand. I think Anna Ringkamp could answer to this. Anna, the question was dealing with digital direct democracy. The question was if there couldn't be any referendums in a digital way to certain important questions. And I'm just interested, what's your take on this? Anna, unmute yourself. Perhaps you can share your thoughts on this.
I think it depends on the topic and it depends on how deep it is necessary to dive into a topic. I mean, if you have just a poll asking a question of yes or no, normally it would be necessary to have a real deliberation on a topic before you can make a decision. And this is a big challenge then, how to realize discussions beforehand, deliberation beforehand, so that that you can make a good decision. Because otherwise, it's just our experience with this deliberation format is that it's necessary to have this exchange of views, of experiences, of arguments, and then you will come up together with other citizens to a good compromise or a good solution. And I think it's necessary to have this beforehand before you start a referendum.
Yeah, thank you very much for your insight on this, Anna. Here was in the chat just the demand, I take it so, for a Europe's People's Forum. Me, myself, I support this, of course, doing this in a qualitative high manner. Does anyone else has a question to our speakers to our projects from the regions? If so, just raise your hand digitally or let us know in the chat. But if it's not this way, I would just assume that all your questions were answered. I'll just give you a couple of seconds longer. Use the chat. Otherwise, we'll switch to our discussion with the politicians. Now it's your last chance to ask questions to the projects or about the report or about the activities of the CUR. But I see you're all looking forward to meeting and to hearing the words of the politicians. That's totally fine with us. But nonetheless, now I see there is a concrete question in the chat. 2 concrete questions. How did the random selection for digital citizens dialogues work? And what might be the English-speaking session success? I think concerning the random selection, Anna, it's again your point. How does random selection for digital citizens dialogues work?
For digital or in person, that is the same method. That doesn't change things. So random selection, you have 3 steps. First of all, you think about the criteria. How do you want to compose the group? How many people, from what sort of backgrounds and so on. And then you have to decide if you have access to a resident register and can make the random selection yourself, or you can choose a service provider, and this service provider would then phone up all the citizens, and if there is an interest, then they will come back to you, and you will have a list with all the interested people, and then you will see and evaluate if these people fit to your criteria. Sometimes people are missing, for example, young people or a young, it's not. You have to look that you really get a mixed group, and and that's it. I mean, you have to communicate with the people that you make sure that they really turn up and that they are there. Maybe you have to over recruit an amount of people, but that's. We have a lot of practical materials and guides how to do it and how to make your timetable for that and so on. This could help. You will find that on the website of the European Committee of the Regions, and also you get some information about that in detail in the report.
Can I add a short comment?
Yeah, no problem. Mrs. Eller, please feel free.
No. Yes, I mean, I was working on this issue in Baden-Württemberg until last May, and I want to strengthen what Anna mentioned about the issue of data protection and also political resistance against finding random citizens, which is we in Baden-Württemberg actually passed a law which guarantees the right for citizens' assemblies that mayors or the state can access the local registers of citizens. And for example, you mentioned in the 6 regions dialogue, Saxonia and also the Eastern countries did send only people from NGOs, etc., multiplicators, which is a very, very different set of people. So, and in Saxonia, it was actually the data protection person who really intervened against random selection. I think this is a political problem in many cases, and one would be well advised also on the EU level to discuss this. Under which conditions is it possible for public authorities to access registers of voters or citizens?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Erler. A very helpful insight into the practice of random selection. I just got the notice from our technical team that our Facebook Live discussion has already started. So there are 2 additional questions in the chat dealing with cooperation with a COR or carrying on the project and carrying on the board. We will leave some words on this later, but be sure we stay on the ball, carrying on citizens' participation. We will save the chat and come back to you on a bilateral meeting. As I said, the discussion with the politicians is will start in a second. To kickstart this discussion, we would like to answer, to answer a question in the chat concerning your wishes. What do you want? We want to hear your opinion. And we want to hear from you. What should politicians do to ensure that the results on the Conference on the Future of Europe are really implemented? So if you could answer us these questions, what your opinion is, what politicians should do, then we would really be happy to transfer this to the discussion with the politicians. And with no further ado, Nico, let's start the next part.
Thank you very much, Christian, for launching the question and helping me to keep an eye on the chat. I promise I will not abandon you, neither our audience for long. And as you just mentioned, the discussion with our excellent politicians has just gone live on Facebook. So very warm welcome also those who are joining us via the Facebook Live. This is an interactive session, so please feel free as well to raise your questions via the Facebook, and my colleague will transmit them to us. To recap a little bit for your sake as well, what we have covered so far, we have seen great examples of events realized and learned about their results. We have heard the lessons learned, and now we are curious to know what comes next. What is after the 9th of May, when the Conference on the Future of Europe will be over? Many refers as well, the President at the beginning of his opening speech, that the ball will be on the field of the institutions. So the question is, what are the possibilities to take this to the next level? How best to create the links between representative and participatory democracy? I have the pleasure to discuss this issue, like I said, with 2 excellent politicians. First, let me convey an apology on behalf of Ms. Kata Tütö, as it was announced in the program. She would have come, but due to urgent family matters, she could not be here. Nevertheless, warm welcome to Mr. Max Speich, who is the Secretary of State of Federal European and International Affairs of North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, and Ms. Diana Finkelstein, who is the COR IEP and the local councillor of the municipality of Iași in Romania. My first question would go to Mr. Max Speich. As the COR delegate to the Conference on the Future of Europe, I wonder what was your experience with the involvement of the citizens in this exercise?
Thank you very much, and a warm welcome from me as well. Well, the experience with the citizens' participation, well, I think I have to point to the fact that there are different levels of citizen involvement. And we've heard about the regional experience in the panel before and in the report. And I think I can mirror that, or echo that. We have had excellent experience with this kind of regional citizens exchange. So we have conducted an online consultation on how citizens in our region want to reshape Europe in concrete terms. And within 6 weeks, more than 28,000 citizens participated and submitted more than 500 proposals. And then we had a feedback event where we really discussed this. So there was a kind of feedback mechanism. And then, of course, we put it to the next level. And the next level is the multilingual digital platform of the EU, which, if I compare it to what we applied, well, I think there's room for improvement still. So it's, of course, I know the ambition behind that, and I know the enormous technical efforts that were made, but I think if you look at that, there is still room for improvement. And then we had also, and we've heard about that as well, a trans-regional exchange that was organized by the COR and the Bertelsmann Foundation. And that also worked extremely well. It involved Silesia, it involved Hauts-de-France, so our partner regions. And I really want to thank the Bertelsmann Foundation and the CR for making that possible. So on that regional level, I think we had concrete issues to discuss, and there had always been a kind of feedback mechanism involved. So always an event where we would reflect on what we had heard from the citizens. There is a different experience with the conference on the future of Europe and its plenary. Because to be very frank, that was not really a structured discussion. It got better in the course of events. So the last plenary, I mean, there was a kind of orientation on the recommendations by the European Citizen Forums, but in the discussions before, we heard 150 speakers for 2 minutes each, and what we never had was a political discussion on the proposals by the citizens. We, for the first time, maybe at the last plenary, but still, a real exchange did not take place. And by what I would have expected, a kind of feedback, a response to proposals. Well, partially it happened, but not in a structured way. And I think that is a problem of the structure of the plenary and the conference. Here I see a lot room for improvement. What I liked about the dialogue, and it was mentioned before, is that the composition of the citizens was very mixed. So we had citizens that never before had taken part in a dialogue and an exchange like that, because there was a random selection, and we had different backgrounds, not only the usual suspects, as was mentioned before. So that was a real exchange. I see sometimes in the plenary of the conference on the future of Europe, the same kind of, I mean, nothing against that, but the same kind of European activists that I meet in any other panel. So I think there is room for improvement with the citizens' dialogue, clearly. So to sum up, it worked well on the regional and local level, but room for improvement on the plenary level.
Great, thanks very much. I would see as well the room for improvement, but I would also already see this great advancement of the mixed composition and reaching out not only to the genuine suspect, as you said. Mr. Lambert as well said at the beginning of his speech that the genie is out from the bottle. So we all expect some kind of a continuation of European citizens panels, call it panel or agora. It's still on role for regions and cities would you suggest in this respect? Maybe first Mr. Schweich, and then afterwards I will turn to Diana.
Thank you very much. From my perspective, it only makes sense to continue with European citizen panels if there's also a previously defined process for dealing with the results. And in a way, I'm following up here to what I've said earlier, and that is precisely the problem that we are facing in the Conference on the Future of Europe, that we have a high level of citizens' participation and also concrete ideas on the table in the meantime, but there is no comprehensible process for dealing with these ideas. So at least not one that gives citizens the feeling that work on the ideas is being done seriously and transparently. So in the end, there might be a kind of intermediate or an end report, but how this is coming, how this is put together is not really clear. So there is really, I think there is need for improvement. In principle, citizens' participation as an instrument of direct democracy should only ever be a complementary instrument, that's my perspective, to representative democracy. So it's not a replacement, obviously. And during the Conference on the Future of Europe, we have reached this high level of quality regarding the citizens' dialogues. And I think we should keep this up in the future and use it for further exchange between elected politicians and citizens. So again, as Karl-Heinz Lambert has said, the genie is out, but we have already, and that was from me very clear in the discussions earlier in this exchange. There have been developed principles of how to deal with that in an effective manner. And now it's the implementation phase where the challenge lies. So what to do with that? How to come into a structure that is not just simulating citizens' participation, but taking it seriously. And in view of the positive experiences I described earlier with citizens' participation formats in my own region, I could well imagine that, well, those formats for direct exchange with citizens will in principle be organized again in my region. So I think we need a regional component to make it happen, because there is a closeness to the citizens. At least it's much closer to the citizens level than Brussels. So I think involving the regions in organizing high quality citizen exchange on specific policy matters. So it's not the whole range, I think, on European future. I mean, that has to be the case for the conference on the future of Europe, but to have more specific issue-related citizen exchanges on regional level really could help to improve the quality of the legislative process, because you have a feedback loop, you have, as I said, you have a quality principle that is key, and again, I think that's what we learned also from the project with the COR and the Bertelsmann Foundation, to bring in citizens with different backgrounds and to have a random principle here, so to get voices heard that are normally not heard in the process. I think that is really important, and that's what we can learn from the experience here. But it should be more specific, more issue related, and there has to be a clearly defined implementation process then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speich. I would now turn to our other excellent politician, Ms. Diana Finkelstein. Before I would give the floor to you, Diana, let me quickly take the opportunity to tell a little bit what is a YEP, because you are part of our YEP community. The YEP stands for Young Elected Politician. That is a program run by the European Committee of the Regions. The aim of this program is to create a community of local and regional politicians who are younger than 40 years of age, basically to exchange practices, sharing opportunities, and of course, getting to know better the COR and any opportunities offered by the EU to those cities and regions that they represent. Currently, we have 350 young politicians taking part in this program. So learning what are these benefits of the program, I will now turn to you, Diana, just to see what is your experience with local citizen engagements. How do you see its future from your perspective?
Thank you very much. Greetings to everyone. I was very fond of the idea of the conference on the future of Europe, because I always thought that at the core of Europe should be the voice of its citizens, and that they should be, of course, involved constantly at a local, national, and European level in decision-making processes. Because this is what I have noticed as a young politician, that people want to be more involved in the way decisions and policies are shaped at local, national, and European level, and very important, not just at election time. This is why the Conference on the Future of Europe was so important through its events, such as the European Citizens Panels as well, because it is an effective tool for people all around the continent to share their ideas. But sometimes it happens that people, it feels like people are so caught up in their day-by-day lives, dealing with problems regarding their social rights, their well-being, infrastructure, and environment problems in their cities, that the Conference on the Future of Europe seems very far away. So I think that here is a place where we have, as politicians, have to step up at a national, regional, and local level. I think that regions and cities should engage in promoting this dialogue, as well as inform citizens about Europe, its principles, core values, and also how they can contribute through their ideas and their input, and to engage in strengthening its democracy. So the regions and the cities should be a link between Europe and its citizens to promote this dialogue and have a constant two-way communication. But as Mr. Speich mentioned, the biggest problem is the implementation of the ideas of the citizens. So one way that we try to do that at a local level was to give a short example is when we have some ideas from the citizens, we are trying as counselors to translate them into projects to make sure that there is a budget for that project and then to make sure that those projects are implemented. This means that politicians have to make a constant effort in being present between the citizens and between the elections. And to extend that, in Iași, for example, we voted last week the local budget for 2022 and have obtained the vote to allocate 400,000 euro for projects decided by citizens through a platform that for participatory budgeting. So I am very happy that we will be able to involve the Iași inhabitants in the decisions on how to use public funds to implement their project. So basically, we are talking about a platform that will gather ideas from the citizens, and afterwards, the citizens get to vote on the most important project, their favorite project. And I think the most important part from my point of view is that they will have the possibility to watch a timeline of the stage of implementation of the project. So this is the way we will try to make sure that their ideas don't end up in a drawer, and they will have the possibility to interact and why not collaborate with the local authorities to make sure that their projects become a reality. And also this offers transparency, which is necessary to build trust between citizens and politicians. And even though I'm talking about a digital platform, and nowadays with the pandemic, the online activities is the most present in our lives, of course, that this has to be inclusive. And this is where the local administration has to make sure that the people that do not have access to technology would have the possibility as well to take part of this process. And as usual, this has to be seconded by a constant presence of the politicians in the cities through organized meetings and panels and conferences, like the model of the Conference on the Future of Europe. And basically, this is what we can do at a local level, briefly.
Yes, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Diana. Echoing the words of transparency and how better link the suggestions of citizens to the implementation, and these really nice examples, practical examples of how to use tools to engage with the citizens on the budgetary issues that you just mentioned. You as a young politician, how do you see any other young politicians' engagements in the continuation of citizens' participation?
I think that platforms such as Young Elected Politicians have a key role in reaching out to the citizens through the politicians that are part of this program. For example, the IEP Forum, Young Elected Politicians for the Future of Europe, was a great opportunity to have an exchange between young politicians from all over Europe, which is very interactive and very exciting, and to come up with the ideas on the future of Europe. I was actually part of the workshop on a lively local democracy for a healthy European democracy, and our recommendations are to build strong local democracies through a permanent dialogue with citizens, as the Conference on the Future of Europe is. That has to take place also on regional and local level, and not as a one-time event, but a permanent one. Also, we have to ensure that the citizens are educated and encouraged to engage in participatory democracy. So there should be a budget drawn up by the EU and local and regional authorities for democracy building exercises targeting schools and other stakeholders. The dialogue should be held between us, local authorities and citizens, between European institutions and local authorities, through measures that involve them in a regular dialogue in order to share experiences and best practices. As a local young elected politicians, YEP helped me a lot with this kind of sharing experience and best practice, because you sometimes find out that we all have the same problems and we come up with solutions that we can go and implement in our local or regional area. And because we need to promote at the EU level the lessons that we learn at local level in a mutual learning effort, and to bring the EU lessons in our municipalities. We have concluded that lively local democracies are the root of a strong and healthy European democracy, and the EU has to take active and efficient measures to enforce participatory democracy and kind of narrow the gap between the authorities and the citizens. I think that as young politicians, we have to communicate and be as transparent as we can. We have to reach out to citizens, but they also have to be it has to be easy for them to approach us. And we should step in and bring the citizens' ideas closer to Europe and the other way around, but through creating effective tools and platforms so that we can be in touch at all times with the people. Yeah. So like what I'm trying to do is always have this dialogue through audiences organized with the citizens, even now during the pandemic, not online. I moved all of my activity online, but I try to maintain this kind of contact.
Wishing you all good luck for the continuation of your activities locally. And as a young elected politician, I believe you will be in the highlights, because 2022 is the year of youth, European Year of Youth. So I think we will hear a lot of youth movements, also with the inclusion and the involvement of the young elected politicians. With that said, as we are getting closer to the end of the event, I really very warmly thank your involvement and also the involvement of Mr. Speich in the discussions today. I look at the chat. Christian, did we have any interesting insights as to what the politicians would need to do to implement the suggestions?
1 second ago, I would say no, but now there comes in a longer chat from one of the participants concerning the Western Balkans in general and open negotiation. I think, let's have a short look in it. It's more or less a general thing, so no question. We will forward this to the politicians, the COR, after our event, so that we can answer it later.
Thank you. So let's hear your closing words, Christian.
My closing words. Yeah, actually, at this point, all I have to do, all that's left for me, is to say thank you. Thank you for participating in our event. Many thanks to our partners from the regions, especially Konstantinos, Julian, Daniela, for their insights into the practical implementations of citizens' dialogues in the course on the Conference on the Future of Europe. Many, many thanks to Anna and Wolfgang for sharing their thoughts and sharing the report. Again, you find the link in the chat. My colleague will share it there for you. Also, many, many thanks to our panelists, Mr. Mark Speich and Mrs. Diana Finkelstein. Very a warm welcome and warm thank you for your insights and your thoughts on citizens' participation in Europe. And of course, I want to thank President Lamberts for his warm welcoming words. You can be sure that we stay on the ball and continue to follow the Conference on the Future of Europe and work to ensure that the proposals of the citizens are really heard. One part of this is that we will publish our final report. It is already published in German and in a draft version in English. Final versions in English and French will follow soon. We let you know through the different means. Yeah, actually, that's it from my part. Thank you very much to all of you for participating and sharing your thoughts.
And on my behalf as well, many thanks for all the people who came in for today, all the platforms via Facebook as well. I can only just say that I really hope that the Conference on the Future of Europe remains an open-ended approach with impacts on reforming policies, even our institutions, and that it paves the way for long-lasting reforms going beyond the duration of the conference. Today, our closing session was only the first instant, as in June we are planning to have a physical face-to-face event in Brussels, if COVID rules allow. And in the meantime, let me call your attention to the 9th European Summit of Regions and Cities to be held on the 3rd and 4th of March in Marseille. I will ask my colleagues to put the program in the chat. You will still have time to register. The event is in a hybrid mode, so you can also participate remotely. And we will have great sessions on democracy and how citizens' participation would continue. So I can only warmly encourage you to register for this event. Thank you all for now and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.